I went to a primary school called Kidnapping. That's when all hell broke loose. Yeah. After my mother gave birth, the ladies and the nurses were gossiping that some lady gave birth to a monkey. To a monkey. Yes. I started abusing my siblings. I took a brick and hit my little brother over the head. I took plastic and tied it around my little sister's knee, and she was crawling. And then I lit it with matches while I own.
I've been through the most, been through the most.
Hola, Fam! Welcome back to another episode of I've Been Through the Most podcast right here on Centtwinz TV with your favorite twins, Millicent.
Innocent.
Together we are the Centtwinz. Yes, you better sing it, girl. We're so honored that you could join us today. Week in and week out, we bring incredible guests to come and share their stories. And today's no other. I love it when people share where they've been and where they are now. Because that is a true testimony. And it's not here for just like entertainment, it's deeper than that. Yeah. If they can get through it and if they live to tell their stories, you can do the same.
That is what the show is about, and this is why it's called I Have Been Through the Most. I mean, haven't we all been through the most?
I know I have.
I know I have.
I know we have.
But we definitely live to tell our story. So we hope that the story today is going to touch your life, impact your life, and definitely help you see the world in a different perspective. Today, we have Kentse in studio who is going to give us her story. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, ladies. I'm so honored to be here today.
We can't wait to hear your story.
Yeah.
And let's get to know you better. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, my name is Kentse Badirwang. I was born and bred in Mafikeng. And then I'm a firstborn at home. It's me, my brother, and my little sister. And then I was born in 1976. Wow. And I went to a primary school called Kidnapping, and I went to a commercial high school called Botswana. Then from there, that's when all hell broke loose.
Sure.
Yeah, so from there, and then I ran away from home, and then my life started in Hillbrow.
Sure.
That's my...
Sure, tell us all about it.
Okay, so when I was born, I was born in a small clinic in Muntsiwa, right? And then that day, there were like a few pregnant ladies giving birth that night. So now, after my mother gave birth, the ladies and the nurses were gossiping that some lady gave birth to a monkey. To a monkey, yes. To a monkey. So, and then my mom was one of the ladies that were like, yo, we can't wait, because they were all tired, right? So next thing, they bring the monkey to my mom, because like I had hair all over my face and my nose was flat. And my mother was so disappointed. So I think that is when everything started. In terms of my relationship.
She was disappointed at how you looked.
Yes.
So when they referred to a woman gave birth to a monkey, they were referring to you being a monkey because you were hairy.
I was hairy and I was
hairy.
dark, yes, and my nails were pink, and I was told that I looked very horrible.
And because you had a flat nose.
Yes,
so
a very
it's the
flat
nurses
nose.
that were saying that, and now everybody in the ward continue with that narrative.
Yes, and my mother was one of the ladies as well that was saying, yo, I can't wait, because she was pretty. She was very young. She was like 18. So, and then they came the following morning, they gave the ladies the babies, and the monkey was brought to her. And then when we got home, for as young as I could remember, then I started having resentment, my relationship with my mother. You understand? Because now she was calling me ugly all the time. And then you understand that because I grew up knowing that I was ugly, even it spread to my friends, and it spread to my primary school. And, so that really affected me so much, because now I didn't have the confidence to go play. So my father was a soldier, so he was mostly away, And then I was left with my mom. And shortly after that, she had my younger brother. And then later she had my little sister. So now she loved my brother, because now my brother was a boy, and she loved my little sister because she was the last born. And, to her, they looked nothing like me. So now I started, reading a lot of books, because now I could not go out and play. And the worst thing was I had my period at 10. So when I was playing that day, so and then I was wearing a white short, and I went to my mom and said, Mama, I've got blood. So her response really, really affected my life for the longest time, because she blamed me. She was like, okay, of all the people, God, why me? She made it about herself. You understand? She said, why me? Why do I have to get this child? Now she's getting her period at 10. And then, so she said to me, from now on, you're not going outside because you're a woman now. You're a woman, so don't be playing with kids because you're not a child anymore.
And I'm sure at 10, you're like, what do you even mean?
So I was
I'm a
like,
child.
and then she was like, now you have to use like pads and so I was like, okay. And then I went to school. At school, my teachers told me that I was stupid. And I because now if they keep on nurturing you with evil, words. And so obviously I was not doing well at school. No one wanted to play with me. And the next best thing was for me to date an older guy. So now I dated an older guy who was very popular back then in Mafikeng. You understand? So when I was 11 and they got to define my ugliness, they started calling me Brenda Fassi. So when they define, so they call me Mabrr. So I was like, okay, at least this ugliness is getting me somewhere because now I'm being compared to,
Okay, someone.
yeah, you
popular,
understand.
known.
So I started being Brenda Fassi. So I got rid of the little shy broken girl. I left her behind, and then I started, wow, let me just embrace being Mabrr. And then
That's what you were called.
yes, and then I started, when she was doing long braids, I was literally living in her shadow, right?
Sure.
So I started performing, and we had a show called Top of the Bob Pops back home. So and then I started performing, my confidence. So that's where my love
ran
for
with it, yeah?
Yes. So all I wanted to do was now, finish matric, not for myself, but for my parents and for society, right? So when I was 14, and then I got raped by my father's colleague. So now, because I was dating this older man, and then he was forever giving me sexually transmitted disease at the age of 14, right? So this other one time, I had pustules like abscesses, in my. So and then I went to sick bay, because my father was a soldier. So I went there. So it happened so fast. When my dad went out, he left me with this other young soldier. He said, you know what?
At his work.
Yes, at sick bay, So this guy, he was just supposed to take my vitals, right? And I don't know, because I was, it happened so fast. And then he penetrated me, and then I still had to go see the doctor. But because now the pustules were like on top, so I didn't even tell the white doctor that, I was raped. So I went home. With my dad and kept quiet. And then when I got home, my boyfriend came, my older boyfriend. And then I told him,
Sorry,
then I told
trauma
him,
on top of trauma. This is someone who's supposed to be helping you get through a particular,
yes,
illness, sickness, and then at that moment of vulnerability, they then take advantage of you.
on top of
Also,
that.
the nerve, like this person works with your father and knows your father. What are they thinking?
And my father was a superior to this guy, right? So and then I go home, and then I tell my boyfriend. He says to me, "If you're not gonna tell your parents, I'm gonna tell." Yes.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yo," and then my dad came, and then I told him. And then I told my mom, said my mother was like, yo, what do you expect? Like, so she was as like she kind of wanted to say it's my fault, or because I've been doing wrong things ever since I was born. From the very first time when she held me, I was never the,
I hear you.
Yes. So now, and then my father had to go to report, and then the case took 2 years, right? And then I went to court, and then, because at they have their own separate court, proceedings at the, it was Buputatswana Defense Force back at the time. Okay. So now, and then we went, because, when you're a young child, they ask you the same question over and over again.
Yes.
And the worst part is, when I got home, when you get raped, the first thing you want to do, you just want
I
to get
think-
rid of.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
So now I got rid of the evidence, so it was so difficult for them to prove the case. So after 2 years, they said, sorry, we don't have enough evidence to convict the guy. So now the guy was like free, and then he was working with my dad to such a point that we had to relocate to another town called Zera, 60 kilometers away from. Because after that time, now I had to go back to my community to be shamed. Because now if the judge says I'm lying, then I'm lying.
Sure.
So on top of that, now my mother couldn't go to church because of me, because now your child lied. You know,
it spread
yeah.
fast in the community.
That I lied, I falsely accused somebody of rape, and
that's
you know,
not a light thing. It's a serious
and
thing.
it's serious. So everybody hated me more. It went to school. Then I got depressed, and you know, this thing with my mother, we're always fighting, and you know, and now I started having teenage depression. So I had like you know, so I fantasized a lot. So in my head, I had like a mermaid, you know, my friend, you know, where would go to the water. And then I started reading books, and, you know, I read this book called Tajewo. So he was my friend, because now I didn't have friends. So now I stole books.
So this is an imaginary friend
Yes, so,
that you've created because you in such a isolated, cold place, lonely place, that these characters became real
to me. And yes, and then also Brenda Fassie was a very real character that I spoke to. Yeah, you know, so I had conversations with her to say, you know what, today I'm going to perform, and I wanted to win, and I won all the time, because now I didn't want Brenda Fassie to be disappointed in me, because now when I got home, they were waiting for me in the mirror, right? And then I started abusing my siblings, inflicting pain, because I was thinking, had they not been born, then it meant that my mother was gonna love me. So I took a brick and hit my little brother over the head, you know, and then he was taken to the hospital. And then from there, I took plastic and tied it around my little sister's knee, and she was crawling. And then I put, you know, I lit this matches while I own, and then it got, you know,
Stuck to her.
Stuck to her.
And how old was your baby sister?
She was crawling. I think she was a toddler. You know.
You were how old then?
I was still, yeah,
teenager.
Yeah, I was, just after the rape thing. You
So
know.
you resenting them. You are angry and you're taking it out on them.
Yes. So the more I got hurt from my mother's, you know, so the more I took it out on my siblings, right? Sure. So and then I one day I had my sister on my back, and then I went to a very flat surface, and then I untied, and then she was still a baby, and then, you know, her head got swollen, and then I blamed it on our nanny. So they fired her, and I was happy because I read this book, Wuthering Heights, of, you know, this beautiful love story, so called Wuthering Heights, where there was like Heathcliff, and, you know, it was written by Emily Bronte. Okay. So Heathcliff was like the villain. So
you wanted to be the character.
So he was like, you know, he wanted to revenge. So I became Heathcliff to say, you know, I'm gonna do this to my sister. You're gonna be so proud of me. And so I went for counseling. You know, and it didn't work. So, and then I was, you know, dating this guy. So, and the guy had a reputation that he was a Satanist.
The guy that you were dating?
Yes. So he was wearing black, and, you know, he had this. So now I was like, and then he introduced me to heavy rock music, and then we were seen wearing black, and I was so rebellious, and there was nothing no one could do to save me, right?
You became the black sheep.
Yes, I became that black sheep that they portrayed me to be.
Yeah. You're like, let me just.
So at school now, I repeated grades, you know, just for the fun of it, because I could. Because they said I was stupid, right? So I repeated grades, and then all I wanted to do was sing. And this guy would come to my school and you know, get to my class while the teacher was and just open the door and say, "Baby, let's go." And then I was like, "See ya," and then I'd leave.
And you'd be like that.
Yeah, and be like, okay, but yes. You know, because I remember I went to a club and everybody thought I was, you know, I think I was 17, 18. I went to a club in KZN, and with my aunt, and everybody thought I was Brenda Fassie. So we drank under her name,
No
so
way.
we were like drinking Black Label, and I was smoking, and everybody was like, "Hey, my brother, I get Zulu, dolol." So I was just saying, "Ay ay 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 ay." I was just saying, "Ay ay 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 ay." You understand? And drinking and dancing. So everybody thought, because I did the purple and
hairstyle.
I was there.
You actually imitated everything.
And then from there, I said, okay. After completing my matric, they said, people were like saying, I'm going to Verse, I'm going to this, and then yours truly, I wanted to go to Hillbrow, right? So my parents sent me to buy Sisheba one day, and then I got into a taxi, and
That was it. So
That
you
was
took the
it.
money for the meat.
for the meat, yeah,
And you're like, I'm running away from home.
So I left, and then I went to Hillbrow. Then I met a couple of my friends that were like, going to study at Verse, and then I stayed with them for like, it didn't take me long. Then I found 999 Studios. I was like looking for all these tables because it was the time of Kwaito that time. So I went to audition at Athama Fokate's studio. And then that time it was like Abashante, Boom Shaka. So, and then, because now I was doing Motswako, I was good. So I was so impressed because I did rap ka Setswana and raga ka Setswana. So he took me, said, after 2 years, I'm going to have you make your own album. Then from there, I was there, and then I got my own flat. And then I got my own flat. And then my parents, my parents came to look for me, and then we went to perform in Cape Town. They were here for 3 days looking for me, and I was like, yo. So I stayed there, and then from there, I started stealing money, defrauding people. So
Why?
I told my
you
friends
needed to maintain a certain
yes,
lifestyle.
because we were getting paid every Tuesday, but it was not enough, and I was very anxious that. So now I started telling people, my peer friends from home that were new in Joburg, said, I'm gonna get you a flat. Give me 4,000 rand, and then I'll get you a flat. But there's a long list here. You're going to have to wait. Going to have to wait. And then I'd pay my flat and my lavish lifestyle with their money, right? Until now, I was caught, and I was dating a gangster, was selling drugs and cocaine. So now, and then I was dating multiple guys at a time that used to beat me up. So now I understood that love means being beaten up, because now, so I was that girl. Every weekend it's me,
Getting beaten up.
So now I dated this DJ again with the same guy to a nightclub. So he was DJing, Galawa Jasmine. So while and then he was playing inside, right? And then I was irritated, there was a club called Soul for Real, so we were there. And then I was sitting down smoking. So people just grabbed me from the back and put me inside a boot of a car, trunk of a car. And then we went. The car was
Wait,
like...
so your boyfriend is busy now, so he missed you being kidnapped.
Yes, he did. And then we went. So the car was like going and going and going. I was like trembling in the back of the trunk, trembling and praying. And I was like, God, I know I've been the worst, human being in the world, but if you can just save me this one time, I swear I'm going to pack my bags and go home, right? So now the car stops. I feel the car stopping. So now the guy opens the boot, yes, with a gun. He says to me, now, you know what? If you scream, we are going to kill you. So as we were driving, I saw it was written, Tembisa, 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 and then we were going. So we stopped at a garage, and then they bought chips and, bread. And then the other guy at the back, he had sauce. When you have sauce, and he had that purple thing that you put on your... and then he kept on licking me and said, I can't wait. And he kept on touching me. And then he said, you must eat this bread because we are going to rape you. Hopefully we won't kill you. You understand? So now we went to this club. Then they said they wanted to drink beer first. So I must pretend like I'm the girlfriend. And the gun was there. So I had to pretend like, So, and then they were like drinking.
What's going on in your mind at this point?
So, I'm like, so they're like, ladies, and they were drinking, sitting on top of crates. And I'm like, okay, maybe if I can go to the house and, tell the people that I'm kidnapped, or, because now it looked like I was the guy's girlfriend. So I went to the loo, and then, and then they were like so comfortable. They said, okay. And then I met this lady. I said, I'm kidnapped. Can you help me? She said, hey, Wena, do you know who these guys are? This is my guy. I don't want trouble. Hopefully they will rape you. They won't kill you. I was like,
She said that.
I thought it was a dream, or, so from there I went to the house, right? Then I knocked. I found this big lady. I'm thinking she was the Shabin. So I said, Mama, can you help me? I've been kidnapped, please. She said, get out of my house. What I can do for you is I can open the front door and you must run for your life. So that's what she did. She opened the front door, and then I opened the gate, and then I tried to run. And then I was wearing gumgedleles. I don't know what,
High heels, those
Macarena, what was,
yeah, long wedges.
So now, one of the guys was outside.
He saw you.
He saw me, and then the street was like an uphill. So he called the others, and then they came and they kicked me. And I was wearing a white jean, and they beat me up. And then I even got my period that time. Because they were kicking me. So I was like, yeah, God. So I imagined newspapers. A girl found where. So, and then from there, they took me inside the car, and they said, you've done it this time. We're going to kill you, Shem. We're thinking we're going to rape you, but we are going to kill, So now, between the driver and the guy at the front, they started fighting, right? So now they started fighting, and the driver said, he said, get out of my car. He told the two guys, get out. But they started fighting. He stopped the car and then pulled them out. They were like trying to pull them out. And even the one in front. So I was sitting at the back. It was just me and him. So he said what? He said to me, I'm going to take you back to where I took you. But when we get there, you must give me 500 rand. It was a lot of money that time.
Yeah.
500 rand. I said, yeah, because it was month end. So my brother was staying in the same flat, because he was attending school somewhere doing matric. So the guy, I was like, yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll give you, please. Yeah. So we drove, and then we went. So now, when we got to the reception, as much as I was bruised, but the security guys were so used to me being like that. So it was like I went to drink somebody's money. So the guy was holding me like that, and then we went into the flat. So I knocked at my first friend's flat. My friend, can you borrow me? Then my friend was like, Wena, and your many boyfriends. So no one wanted to borrow me. They were happy that I was in that state. So now the guy had the gun pointed again. So he said, you know what? I'm going to kill you. So now, and then I was like, you know what? He said, if you scream at reception, I've got nothing to lose. I'm going to shoot you.
Anyway,
the guy, it's going to be drama. But one thing I know, because of the chaos that you caused us tonight, you are definitely going to be amongst us, the dead people. So and then we walked past the reception. I was like, you know what? Yeah. So let me just go and face I was like, anyway, I'm tired. The life that I've had. So as we were going out, we bumped into a group of young boys. They were like drunk young boys. It was like 3 a.m. So as I bumped into this young man, and as I raised my head like this, it was my brother and his friends. Like there were 6, 7 guys. Ne? And then I was like, I called him by the name. I was like, I started crying hysterically. And my brother could see that, and I couldn't speak. I was so in shock. And then the guy said, he even requested money for petrol while I was in shock, not being able to speak. So they were like, hey, I've got 50 rand. And then he quickly took the money. I think
from the guys.
Yeah, from the guys. Yeah, I think
so
for 2 days I couldn't speak.
Why?
Because I couldn't speak. I was just yes. Okay. Yeah, I was just quiet. I was trembling, crying, hysterical, and all that. But after that, my brother said, you know what, my sister, I think you should go home. I was like, no, no. And then as we are performing now, I could feel that there was something in my stomach, right? But I was like, because now I dated, one of the guys at 999 as well. So, and then, I went home. It was December, and then I told my mom, there's something in my stomach. I don't understand. So my mom said, okay, let's go to the doctor then. We went, and then when we got there, I was pregnant. I was 22. And January, I was supposed to do my album, and then I was like, no, wait. They had just legalized abortion, right? Okay. So I was like, please, can I have an abortion? So it was December. So I did what? So I aborted my baby. And then I waited for January for me to go to Joburg. So, and then my mother was swearing at me second week of January. And then I had like cramps. And I was like, mama, I'm dying. Take me to the hospital. So when I got there, and then I was like, bleeding. Yeah. And then, so now they took me to maternity ward, So they checked me. They said that there's a baby inside. I was
So wait, this is after you did the abortion?
In December.
In December. Now this is January.
Yes. So now So now this baby, because now I was healing and I didn't sleep with anyone. So I was like, no, this baby is the same age
didn't get rid of the pregnancy.
So the one totally. So the one baby was hiding, or they call it the disappearing twin or something. So my baby was weighing 1 kg at that time. So I could hold him like that. He looked like like a baby's, like a bird's, skin was transparent.
So you were pregnant with twins?
Yes. So I aborted the first one and the other one was left in my tummy.
And survived?
No, they said he was going to die after 3 days because he was the youngest baby recorded. Because even ladies that came, because they said I was like 5 going on 6 months, right?
Oh, so the baby's premature.
Very, very premature. So now, and then so I didn't want to see the baby, and I was there. So, and then the doctor said, no, this baby is just too small. It's not going to survive. Today, my son is 28.
Wait, what?
Because I waited. After a week.
1 kg.
Yes. I was there. I remained. So my baby remained in the incubator until the full term of the pregnancy. Even when...
So for months, the baby stayed.
Stayed from January. Yes. I left the hospital end of May. The same time that I was supposed to give birth.
Since Jan.
I even ran away and they called the cops on me. I ran away with that uniform. I ran away with that, yes. And then they called the police because, I was so depressed.
Baby was a person. It's your son.
Because now I was like, I told this lady, I don't want this child because you guys promised me I was going to die. Next thing you come and tell me this baby is a miracle baby. I don't want to hear those things. I want to go. I want to go.
So you out here trying to be famous in Joburg.
Because I wanted my life back. You understand? So I was like this. So now,
wow.
5 months later, now they gave me this baby. And
your baby.
Because imagine at a public hospital, you have to wake up every 3 hours to go and nurse the baby. So I wasn't.
That's motherhood,
So no, I was totally disconnected. So they were feeding my baby on my behalf. So I was just sitting there, angry and bitter, So they were like, do you need counseling? I was like, counseling for what? I don't want that baby, me. So, and then I took the baby and then I went home. So when I got home, my mother, that time, because now it was her time, I got home and then she was like, Akire, you got this baby. So me, I'm going to a party, go meet rent somewhere with my friends. So she left me there. With my baby. For the first time I was with my baby, my mother said, Akire, when motherhood is your thing. Now I got married when I was young. This is my time, girl. So they got into a polo with her friends and then opening the fridge, there was just 2 savannas. There was no food, no napkins, no nothing with the baby. So I drank the 1 savannah and gave the baby the one. Yeah, so, so my baby was drinking that for the whole night.
Stop.
Not milk.
Why
There
did
was
you
no-
not have milk?
No, remember
At
my,
hospital, yes, you were not nursing the
yes,
baby.
so they were giving us, so my mother didn't prepare anything. So I was so happy to get alcohol also. I was like even complaining that the baby's drinking my share because the baby now was crying so much the whole night. I was like, hey guy, there's no
Let me process because what? Not
know,
you
right?
giving a newborn baby Savannah.
Yeah, no, Hansa.
I mean,
Yes, Hansa, yes. And-
Okay,
Yeah, there was-
and then, and I'm sure the baby drank because the baby was thirsty.
Yes, the
and
baby
hungry.
and hungry.
And another thing was, was there no maize? Could you not make porridge?
No,
Why-
there was nothing. And there was absolutely nothing. And I didn't care. You know?
didn't care.
Yes.
You know what I also want to, sorry to interrupt you, is from the hospital, right? How you resented your own child and rejected your own child. Do you think part of it was because of how your mother rejected you as well and resented you, and now you're basically repeating exactly the same thing to your child?
Yes.
You didn't receive that motherly love, and you're like, I also don't have it in me. That as much as you hated it, you did it to your own son.
I did it to my own son. I did it to my own son. After 2 weeks, my mom kicked me out. And it was raining that day. She said, take your baby. And so I got a lift from this other Afrikaner guy. So he put me at the back with my baby. And then we were going to my grandmother's house. So, and then I went to my grandmother's house. A couple of weeks later, I left my grandma with the baby. And then I went back to Joburg. So now I had to look for a better type of life, and then I dated a gangster. So they used me as bait, right? So they would plot, to steal a car or rob a company, and then I would go and work there, and then so I could have the keys and everything. So when they got there, when my boyfriend and his friends got there, they would start with me and beat me up and so it can
real.
Yes, because now when the police come to take the statement, it's real. I'm crying, I'm beaten up, and then later I'm a victim, and then later we would go upstairs, and baby, you did well and all that. So this one time, so this, and then and then there was like my baby at home, so I thought of my baby a lot, sometimes, but I was drinking and smoking weed, and now they were never ever going to allow me to leave the gang. So this one time I bought a bottle of whiskey and then Zol, and then I went, at the top of the flat. So that was the day that I was gonna kill myself, right, to jump. So now I drank that whiskey, right, and then I started smoking Zol, and then I had this massive headache. Then I think I passed out, So after passing out, and then I was, I don't know, I got into I don't know, ne? And then it was me and this old woman, right? After passing out, I woke up, and then I was with this old blind woman. So she was leading the way in the forest, right? And then she took me, and then I told her, she took me to the river. And then I said to her, I can't swim, and you are blind. Where are you taking me? And then we went under the water.
Huh?
And then we went under the water, and then I could breathe, right?
Under the water.
Yes. So, and then we went there, and then when we got there, there were like elders, elders. They were dressed in white, and they were like in a cave, right? So now, and then they started beating drums, and then, I started being in a trance and responding to the drums. So, and then I was dancing, after that, they told me to drink a substance so there was a calabash and a pot, and fire there. So, and then I drank the calabash, and then they said, look inside. And then I saw, as I was looking inside the calabash, I saw my body, ne? I saw the future of what I wanted to do. I saw my body, torn to pieces, my brain there on the floor. The one of the elders said, go home and feed my chickens and mend my dress. Then I woke up with a bottle of whiskey in my hand, and then with Zol and everything. and then that's how I was saved.
You mentioned the mermaid spirit because in your, I don't want to call it a dream, but when you passed out, right, you went with this old blind lady into the water,
Yes.
right, underneath, and at that point, did you know that they actually tried to initiate you, or what, or that's where this water spirit thing started?
I don't know because
Or you didn't read too much into that?
No, because I loved the concept of meeting the mermaid, and that was part of my fantasy world from a very so now I didn't make anything out of that until I started sitting and writing the book, right? And then I went to I met this other guy from ZCC church, and then they told me my things that you are crazy, let's go to church. And then I went with them to church, and then I got baptized there, and then I was a sheriff. They put that. The pastors said, in our church, when somebody gets taken by the water dainty, we don't make noise. So when I got there, and then there was like a 12 wind.
Sure.
Like a storm, nyana, so, and and then there's like it became windy, and the water became violent, and I saw this thing, I saw this body, this gray shining body, and I wanted to tell them that I'm seeing something, yes, and then because that thing kept on throwing them out of the water, throwing them, and the water was not even, it was like not even
not
deep. Yes, the men came out, and they really insisted and forced me to get baptized. So now they came, and then I was like trying to tell them, but when we got out, I was unconscious. I woke up, then I went to church, they gave me the badge, and then from there I went home, right? And then I went home, and it has been
deliverance.
Yeah, and
from all these spirits manifestations.
Yeah, and then this one time, and then I was going to church, but then they gave this other moholo instructions too, because I was still
Not stable.
Yeah, so now this guy came to my place to make me tea, that coffee, so because he said to me, he must remove the spirits through my. You understand?
Huh?
So and then I just laid there, and then he took advantage of me and raped
This is
me.
a man from church.
Right?
Who was called to come and help
Yeah, and then
to make you tea. Then they
and then he said
advantage sexually.
and then because I was not myself, and so I was just lying there like a. So when he was done, I was like, so. He said it's gonna cure my my mind and my insanity. So now from there and then I left the church, and then
So
I
you
went.
never told anyone from church that this man had raped you?
No, I never
You
told.
just let it go.
Yeah, and then from there, I went to church Yabazelwane, and then so now they said they wanted to
deliverance.
They wanted to deliver the Jezebel spirit in me, but then I had a wig, sewn into those. They traumatized me. I even had bruises. So they were like, the pastor was like hurting me. Yes, they were fighting with me. And then I was like, no, you're hurting me. So they thought now they were fighting with
the demon.
and they even pulled the wig with my own hair, and they were saying, come out, Jezebel, come out, and then from there I had bruises, and the following day I actually had to shave my head because I had patches. And I was so hurt. And then and then they were like, in the name of Jesus, from the following day I went to the taxi rank, cut my hair. Then I went to the bottle store because I really wanted to change. So
they didn't help you as well?
No, they didn't help me.
So you didn't get deliverance even in a Christian church?
No, I didn't.
Or a church is supposed to be Christian, because I'm trying to figure out what happened there.
Yeah.
Because...
No, I didn't get deliverance. So the following day I went to And I was really serious because now I was not drinking. But after they did that to me, I said, you know what, God. So from there I went to, and then from there I went from Bazalwane, and then I started drinking again. And my mother was helping
the
me with
church
the,
hurt.
and then I went to Postola, and then from Postola I was there, and then I went to Epehlweni.
What's that? Like traditional.
Traditional. I went to Twasa.
Yo, shoo.
So, but then by that time, my book was already out, and now I was a GBV activist, and already after this book won the best African nonfiction. So I started getting awards from, I was recognized by the United States of
You
America.
must be a really good author.
Yes. So I've written, yeah. So now there's like Katie's Arrow 2 that is going to come out next year, which talks specifically about my spiritual journey. So it's called, this one is called Katie's Arrow, Cruel Journey to a Purpose. That one is called Katie's Arrow, Cruel Journey to a Purpose. Yes. So now so now Katie's Arrow is soon going to be adopted into an international drama series sometime next year.
So I'm like,
Thank you.
your life is a film because
Yes.
wow. So it sounds unreal that one person went through so much.
So much.
And I think what hurts me the most about your story is the fact that when you're the most vulnerable, looking for help, you could not find it. And I really, that just breaks my heart, especially in church. You know what I mean? Where you go, I mean, you had been in a psychiatric hospital, you had been to that other church where you passed out from the baptism, you went to a Christian church, you went to, for me, it's like,
God,
you
find
know,
her, please, Lord.
I just wish you found the right people and found safety and closure and God and healing and deliverance. Then you know what I mean, because it's a big part of the story, you know, so that you can also help other people, you know, so that you can also, not from a place of brokenness but from a place of healing, and you need to break certain curses cycle so that your children don't have to go through what you went through, you know.
And you know what, I think, I'm so grateful for everything that I went through in life, because God wanted to go to take me through all that, because now when I go there and talk about human rights and initiates rights, and so I advocate from that level of I have an experience, you understand,
And people listen.
and people can relate, you understand, because I cannot advocate for rape survivors, you understand. So that's why now I'm really being recognized as an international GBV activist, you understand. Because now I'm mom root.
I can't wait to read the book. Thank you for sharing your story. I know that you are inspired. I mean, we were shocked half the time because wow, a whole film was her reality. So you can only just imagine it. So
If I've been through the most was a person.
Kentse has been
I
through the
shouldn't be alive.
No. You
So I'm
shouldn't.
really,
Your life
and thank God I'm turning 50. And
and you look this young.
Yes, I'm turning 50. So, my son is 28 and the other is 21. So I'm turning 50.
And raising kings, you better recognize raising kings.
Yeah, kings.
We've come to the end of the show. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure you interact. Show her some love in the social media platforms. Show her some love and get her book.
Yes. Where's your book available?
On my Facebook page, my socials, on Facebook, Kentse Badirwang, Instagram, Kentse B. And no, I'm not a Twitter person. No, not Twitter. Yeah. So, and then from there, they can just, email me. They'll find my details on Instagram and Facebook. Yes.
Awesome. Do the right thing.
Thank you so much, guys. For myself, Innocent.
And myself, Millicent. And of course, the author. You better recognize award-winning. It is. Bye for now.
I've been through the most, been through the most.